Hello everyone! In this video we're going to talk about switch statements, which is another type of conditional statement just like if else, and if else if statements. In order to talk about that, I first want to talk about what we call menu-driven programs. And a lot of the programs that we use every day have a menu of some kind. So let's take code blocks for an example. We have several different menu options up here at the top, but if we click on File, our File menu has something like New, Open, and Save. So we're going to duplicate that and simulate a short little menu. So here's our menu. We can make it like the File menu. We can start a new file, open an existing file, and save a file. So based on what we know of if statements, we could process the user's choice by asking them to input an option, store it in answer, and then checking to see what answer is equal to. Is it equal to 1, 2, or 3? We could do that with implicitly nested if statements. We're just going to do a simple print statement that demonstrates we know which option has been selected. And if none of those options are correct, we could also add in a not a valid option choice to be kind of our default to catch any option that's not 1, 2, or 3. So we can use these if statements to kind of simulate selecting from a menu. So if we build and run our program, it prints the menu for us, 1 for new, 2 for open, 3 for save. We'll just check each of those real quick. There's 1 for new, 2 for open, 3 for save, and anything else goes to a default not a valid option. Anytime you're doing a series of if statements that only uses the equal to relational operator, there's another option that we can pick instead, and that's where the switch statement comes into play. So this is the syntax for a switch statement. It starts with the keyword switch. Then there's a set of parentheses, and inside the parentheses is some sort of control value. And based on what that control value or control expression is equal to, we're going to pick one of the available cases. So this will be the case where the controlling expression is equal to value 1. And that way it's similar to the equal to relational operator for if statements. If controlling expression is equal to value 1, then we'll run the statements after this case until we get to this break. And once we hit a break statement, we will leave the switch and go down to the next statement after the switch statement. If the controlling expression is equal to value 2, then we'll run the second block of statements until we get to that break, and we can build in as many cases as we would like. There's also a default so that if the controlling expression is not equal to any of the values, there's something that catches everything at the end. So let's take this syntax and do the same thing that we were doing here with if statements. Now we'll leave the implicitly nested if statements there in case we want to take a look at them later. We'll do the same thing with a switch. So starting with keyword switch, we want to switch based on the value of ans or answer. We've got the case where it's equal to 1, in which case we want to print out, this is a new file. And then we're going to break. We've got the case where answer is equal to 2, and then we want to print out that we're opening a file. And at the moment, that's all we're doing in our case statement, so we're going to go ahead and break after that. Case 3 is for saving. And then our default case is the not a valid option. So now if we run our program this way, the output, the runtime environment, should show exactly the same thing as it did with if statements because they should appear the same way. But we have a different set of syntax that accomplishes the same thing. So 1 for new, 2 for open, 3 for save, and anything else gets caught by the default as not a valid option. Now that we know how to use a switch statement, we're going to do a quick example. So this practice program is about Girl Scout cookies. We're going to print out a menu of Girl Scout cookies. We only have 3 different types of boxes. And then based on which one they pick, we're going to print out the cost and ask them how many boxes that they want. And a default case is that they didn't pick any cookies, so we're not going to charge them in that case. At the end, we want to print out what their total cost is. So if you'd like to try this practice program on your own first, and I would encourage you to do so, go ahead and pause the video, because I'm going to go ahead and do this practice program for you to see. We're going to start with some of the things that they're going to need, like which type of cookie they're interested in, which we can assign by number. They're going to buy a certain number of boxes of cookies, and we're going to go ahead and initialize that to 0 so that it has a starting point. If they don't buy any cookies, then num boxes is equal to 0. We're also going to have a final price. So we're going to declare a total, and we're going to use the data type float. So we need to be able to support parts of a number so that we can have parts of a dollar. So we're going to use float for that. We're going to go ahead and define the individual costs for the types of cookies. So we've got Thin Mints. And unfortunately, this is not the price of actual Girl Scout cookies anymore. So that we'll have those if we want. And then if we wanted to update the prices for whatever they're currently equal to, we could do that in just this location. Now we're going to print the menu for the user. We'll let them know which type of cookies we have available and then ask them which kind they're interested in. So these are the available Girl Scout cookies. We have Thin Mints. We have Samoas. And we have shortbread cookies. We're going to say, which would you like, or which would you like to purchase? Something like that. At the moment, they can only buy one type. We'll get into repeated execution in our next chapter. And they're going to tell us which type of cookie they would like to purchase. We're going to read that into type. So now we're going to build our switch statement based on that type of cookie. So based on type, we should have the case where type is equal to 1, and that's going to be our Thin Mints case. First we need to print out the price. We're going to print that Thin Mints are technically $3 per box. We're going to print that out using our predefined value of $3. We want to use 2 decimal places because when we write our monetary values, we use 2 decimal places. So $% 0.2f will give us a $sign and then the monetary value. And that is per box. And we're getting that value from that constant. And then we can say, how many boxes would you like? And scan in then the number of boxes. Okay. Now we're going to have to do this for each type of box, and the reason we're doing it here instead of separately so that we would only do it once is because there's a chance they'll enter not 1, 2, or 3, which means we'd have a default case of you didn't select any boxes, and then we'd ask them how many boxes would you like, and so those two things don't really match up. So we're going to go ahead and ask how many boxes they would like right here. And we'll go ahead and calculate their total to be num boxes times the price of Thin Mints, so that there's their total price. So that is everything for one type of cookie. And all we're going to do from here is duplicate that across the other cases. So case 2 is our Samoa's case. And we're just going to do the exact same thing. Using Samoa's instead of Thin Mints. And one more time for the shortbread case. And then our final thing that we need to type in is the default case. This is if they did not enter a valid option. Then we're not going to give them any boxes of Girl Scout cookies because they didn't pick a valid option. And then here at the end, we'll give them their final total. If they didn't pick any Girl Scout cookies, then their total will be 0 because they didn't get any cookies. We'll print out their final message, and we could add something like, Thank you for buying our Girl Scout cookies. Thank you for shopping. Things like that. So now we want to run it and make sure it all looks the way it should. So we'll build and run. It says, here's our menu. These are the available cookies. What type would you like? We'll test all of them, but the correct answer is Thin Mints. So how many boxes of Thin Mints would you like? We'll double check that if Thin Mints are $3 per box and we want 5 of them, the correct total is 15. So just a quick double check to make sure the math is working out. Everything looks great so far. So now we'll check the other 2 options. And we'll also check the default to make sure that that works correctly as well. So if we don't pick a box of cookies, it says that's not a valid option. Total is 0 since we didn't buy anything, and that is our Girl Scout cookie program. So right now they can only buy one type of cookies. You can only get Thin Mints or Samoas or shortbread, not like a box of each. But in our next chapter, we'll look at loops, and that will allow us to do some repeated execution. So you can buy all the types of Girl Scout cookies if you want. I will see you then.